For today's bonus track, I'm going to talk a little bit about onboarding a new hire. Onboarding is a long process. In reality, I think it takes about 3 months to be done fully getting someone in place. And then you should switch from an onboarding style check in with your people to regular one on one check ins. If you're curious about that, there happens to be another bonus track on this. So, when onboarding, that first 90 days is pretty critical for a new hire. And I'd venture to say the time leading up to their first day and their actual first day are the most critical. You start onboarding somebody once you have a signed offer letter and are doing any background checks process you need to. Onboarding has a lot of moving parts, so I'm going to try to break it down into a few pieces for you. Let's start with communication ahead of time. Make sure they know the date, time, and location where they need to be on their first day. Let them know dress code for their role normally, and if you'd like to have them to have anything additional on hand. For instance, when in the past when I hired non-operational people, I still asked them to bring a pair of work boots if they had them or strong rubber-soled shoes, as part of our training involved them going to job sites, and I wanted them to be safe. Let them know at this point in your process if you need additional ID on the day they start, like a passport or social security card, as people often don't carry these. Some payroll systems allow you to do this ahead of time, but sometimes you're collecting that info on day one. Let them know if they should bring food, and what kind of food storage or prep you have in your space. Usually on the first day, I would have people scheduled to take someone out to lunch. But just remember, food is important and can be a sense of anxiety that first day. You want to remove those questions for them. If you're getting them gear, find out before they arrive what sizes they need. Even if you don't have it on day one, at least they know it's coming. So let's talk about day one. Have their spot clean and ready for them. Have their swag there. Let them know how they get and find any additional supplies if they need them. Give them their schedule for the week, or at least provide clarity on where they need to be when. Let's talk about technology. This is probably the most taxing thing to get set up on time. Phones, tablets, computers, logins to software, access to key cards or other security measures, vehicle info, gas cards, credit cards, all the stuff I group together as things somebody needs to quarterback. Make a list, check it off as you go. Sometimes this process alone can take hours, and someone showing up and not having the ability to get any work done can really put a bad taste in their mouth. So if they need to be able to get into a building or a vehicle and log into systems to get started in any training, you want to do that ahead of time. Now, HR stuff. Again, I suggest a checklist. They need to sign off on policies, set up in payroll, know how to clock in, clock out, get you emergency contact info, and start any mandated training. I used to tell folks they'd have time in between their training for their job to work on a lot of this, but I also gave them hard deadlines about anything needed for payroll. Now let's talk about your team. So far, we've talked a lot about the new hire, but just as important in this process is getting your existing team on board with a training schedule. You need them to help you get this person settled. You could have a checklist of items that they're responsible for, but I'd also really encourage working with the team members on a training schedule for at least 2 weeks. Things can change, but this way your team knows in advance about their training responsibility, and your new hire has an idea of who they're working with at any given point. You can ask your new hire to keep track of this initial schedule once they start. So if a training gets missed, they still know it needs to be done. But you really want your current staff to own their training responsibility and work with the new hire if any issues arise. Now, 30, 60, 90-day check-ins. One of the biggest tools I recommend for onboarding is a 30, 60, and 90-day check-in. These can be done with a few different people based on who's training them the most, but ideally you want a form tailored to their role that mentions specific job functions as well as over industry concepts that they should have their hands around. I'd also encourage some ideas or some items about your culture on there as well. These check-in topics should usually be answerable by a 1 to 5 scale as to how comfortable they are with the concept. Schedule these out so they don't get lost in the mix, and so you know your new hire is on track. This also allows for some good feedback on how you all did getting them settled. And you get a tangible piece of information about what they have learned and have a handle on. Remember, a new hire is in learning mode and having a lot thrown at them. You may have known certain things for years, but this is all new to them. Stay in good communication with the training team to see how this person is settling in. If you have any questions or you want to talk about this further, please feel free to reach out to us here at the Olent. Thanks so much.